This college, I am biased, but I know that this college is a unique and powerful place. We're committed individually and we're committed collectively to making the world a better place. And we do that in all these ways. We do that through our leadership, we do that through our service, and that is, in my estimation, also the work of the social sciences. And so in the lives and careers and work of our inductees tonight, including attorneys who offer counsel and guidance, politician and entrepreneur and civil servant who's made transparency in state government her mission, this is plainly evident for us, to us. For me personally, I believe, I've reflected on this quite a bit recently, but I believe that all of the problems in the world today begin and end with the human spirit. And at this Hall of Fame tonight, we celebrate all that all of you do to understand and study and examine the human condition and all that you do and have done to lift the human spirit. And we admire and appreciate and respect that and are grateful for it. Mike, Stephanie, and Michael, we're honored to be able to recognize you this evening. Please receive my sincere appreciation, and to your family and friends also, for being here and allowing us to recognize you. I would also like to thank our students in the room. You also make us proud, just like these recent and not so recent graduates we honor tonight make us proud. All of your work and all of your leadership, all that you do at this college as students and as leaders, we appreciate that. At this time, I would like to welcome our Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Jackson Lazer, Associate Professor of Religion and Chair of the Division of Social Sciences. Jackson.
The mission statement for the Social Sciences Division is to promote multiple approaches to understanding ourselves, others, and the forces that shape society, to equip students for reflective engagement in the world. We are here tonight to celebrate that work of equipping. It is a work in progress for those of us who are here at SC, and it is the fruit of that work evidenced in the meaningful careers of our Hall of Fame inductees. We have two honorary categories this evening, Pi Gamma Mu and the Leaders in Service Hall of Fame. Through these two categories, we have the opportunity to celebrate both our current students as they prepare for a life of service and our alums who have and are doing amazing things in the world. We will begin with induction and honor cords for Pi Gamma Mu. We at Southwestern College hold the distinction that Pi Gamma Mu, the National Honor Society for the Social Sciences, was started as a joint effort between Southwestern College and the College of William and Mary in 1924. We are pleased to be able to honor students who are studying and preparing to be persons who make a meaningful contribution in our world. Students, on behalf of your professors, I want you to know that even though much of the hard work you are doing academically is private, and you probably feel like it's unseen by many and perhaps by us, we know that you are doing the work. It is a gift to become comfortable with working hard, with giving your best, even if only you fully understand the effort required. As it is with most things in life, it is true with your academic endeavors. You get out what you put in. We know that you have invested and applied yourself during your time at SC, and it is a joy for us tonight to recognize that work. We have invited students to join Pi Gamma Mu who have the criteria of 20 hours of social sciences credit, maintaining a 3.0 GPA, and tonight we are happy to acknowledge those who have accepted our invitation. Our current president, Jack Barry, who is a junior majoring in history, will come and assist me. For our students, we have a certificate and a pin for you. As I call your name, please come forward and accept your membership certificate and pin. Braden Calvin, psychology major, discipleship minor. Nicholas Detter, philosophy and discipleship minor. Rebecca Dominguez, philosophy and religion major, discipleship minor. Colby Fugit, leadership minor. Nyankuru Innocent, discipleship minor. Megan Kindred, psychology major, leadership and criminal justice minors. Allie Lawrence, psychology minor. Alicia Michelson, psychology major. Megan Mulch, leadership minor. Emily Sutton, psychology major, criminal justice minor. Good job. I'd also like to recognize two inductees that are not with us tonight, Cassidy Schubert, who's a psychology major, and Laura Pachoon, who's a philosophy religion major, discipleship and leadership minors. Thank you. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Additionally, two of the Pi Gamma Mu students who are with us are graduating this spring and heading out to take their next places in the world. Students, if you'll step forward as I read your name and a short bio so that our people can know where you're going, where you're headed. So first is Megan Mulch. And Dr. Rude is presenting her cords. Megan is graduating with a BS in biology and minors in leadership and business administration. In her time at SC, she was a high jumper on the track and field team and has been a member of the leadership team. She has held several leadership roles. You're fine. She has held several leadership roles across campus, including Student Government Association and Tri Beta Secretary. And Megan is in the process of finding a job in a biological research facility. Congratulations. Christian Gardner, and Dr. Negley will be presenting his. Christian Gardner is graduating with a BA in psychology and mathematics. He was a student athlete as well during his time at SC, and he was a part of the Southwestern College football team. And he was president of the college's Psychology Honors Association, Psi-Chi. His senior research project focused on mathematic education and received an award at the Great Plains Psychological Conference. After graduation, Christian plans to join Teach for America in Tulsa to teach mathematics. Congratulations. I would also like to recognize one of our December graduates, Quinlan Stein, who is a history major and a philosophy and religion and leadership minors. Quinlan couldn't be with us because she has gotten a job. She is working at the development office of Kansas State University. Congratulations, Quinlan. Tonight, the highlight of our honorary recognitions are for three persons who have not forgotten this errand of service in the world. We are thankful for their lives of service that help us all get a glimpse of living amply with great vision and with a great spirit of hope and achievement for what the world looks like. The Southwestern College Leaders in Service Hall of Fame for the Social Sciences was established in 2009 to honor alumni and friends who have taken their education and enriched our world by offering their time and talents and leaders in service to others. It is right and fitting that we recognize these worthy individuals for their efforts, and the college is privileged to be a part of this honor. I would like to call your attention over here to these beautiful glass creations. These one-of-a-kind awards will be given annually to Leaders in Service Hall of Fame inductees. They are handcrafted by Mr. Scott Hartley, class of '97, a Southwestern science major who went on to use his artistic talents and his knowledge of science to become a master glassblower. We are fortunate to be able to give these unique gifts to our inductees to permanently remind them of their place in our Hall of Fame. Our first inductee tonight, C. Michael Lennon, class of '67. Mike Lennon has combined a successful law career with community service and civic engagement. He served as Secretary of the Kansas Department of Revenue in the years 1979 to '83 and Chairman of the Kansas Corporation Commission from 1983 to '87 before entering private practice with Morris Lang, Evans, Brock, and Kennedy. During this time with the KCC, Lennon presided over a number of protracted, complex regulatory proceedings. Repeatedly recognized in the Best Lawyers in America publication, Lennon's representation has included complex commercial litigation, consultation, and participation in regulatory and ad valorem tax proceedings and advice on regulatory issues associated with acquisitions of energy and utility properties. His professional interests have been supplemented by a full load of civic engagement, including board service with Southwestern College, the Topeka Symphony, and the Kansas Health Foundation. Help me congratulate Mike Lennon.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, President Andrews, Dr. Lazer. It's a real privilege to be here this evening, and I have to tell you, when I think about others who have been inducted into this Hall of Fame, their lives, their legacies, their service and accomplishments, I am just absolutely humbled by it. And frankly, I'll confess to feeling some unease about worthiness to join that group. Nonetheless, it's a wonderful honor, and I'm so very grateful to be included. Now, a review of my work history suggests I need to extend a special word of appreciation to members of the Social Science Division. Consider this. Career highlights have included collecting taxes for the Department of Revenue, setting utility rates with the Corporation Commission, and representing utilities and oil and gas companies through my law firm. That there may have been some social value, really any social value, attributed to that kind of record suggests just one conclusion, and that is that the social sciences faculty here has embraced fully the message of Matthew 21:31, and that, of course, is a scripture where Jesus explained that there is indeed hope for tax collectors and those engaged in an even older profession. So, well, why attend Southwestern? First things first. My parents made it clear from the beginning that whatever the sacrifice, I would be going to college somewhere, even though they hadn't had that opportunity, or perhaps because of that. Then there was Esther Evans. Esther was a teller at the First National Bank in Syracuse. She was also organist for the Presbyterian Church there. She knew I was interested in music. She had high regard for Southwestern and its music program and faculty. So, whenever I'd go to the bank to deposit my modest paycheck from working part-time at the local livestock auction, Esther would make the pitch for Southwestern. I also need to acknowledge Moran Thompson. Moran was already a Southwestern student, a year ahead of me, also from Syracuse. He was enthused about the college, and he encouraged a campus visit. Eventually, I accepted, not really expecting to enroll, but slightly interested. Then I arrived. Moran was a great tour guide. He knew exactly what to do, and so very soon I found myself standing at the top of the 77. And there was the view, the peaceful, tranquil, inspiring beauty of the Walnut Valley stretching out below. It's something we've all experienced, and it's something that creates a very special connection to this place, I think. During that visit, I also learned about the transformation of the campus that had occurred after the 1950 Richardson Hall fire. New buildings were the most obvious manifestation. There was Wallingford Hall, the Student Center, the library, new Science Center, others. These buildings themselves were great complements to the view from the 77 and certainly attractive to a potential student. More important, they were a real testament to the resilience of the college. I didn't realize it at the time, but President Stroll, and Rod Stroll is here, but President Stroll was responsible for a major share of that renaissance. And so he's another to whom I owe those forever thanks. All of those influences, along with meeting faculty, and I was hooked, ready to become a builder. Well, my time at Southwestern began in the fall of 1963 and ended in the spring of 1967. That was a very turbulent time in the country's history. I think we saw some of the best and some of the worst of what we as individuals and as a country might do. At the beginning of that time, I think there was an air of optimism. Many were inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech, which was given in August of 1963, and by his example and that of others of nonviolent protest against segregation. Perhaps naively, also by the political promise of a new frontier. But all too quickly, we had much of our idealism and hope shaken, perhaps shattered, by the assassination of President Kennedy in November of 1963. During that mid-1960s period, we saw the beginning and the escalation of the Vietnam War. And with that came increasingly fervent, sometimes violent protests, often involving students. In the inner cities, there were major riots as individuals began to react to conditions that had festered really since the inception of the country. There were also profound changes in social mores and matters related to music and to sex and to drugs. The Vietnam War aside, and that's sort of like trying to ignore an elephant, I believe some other aspects of national policy were in accord with the aim of John 10:10, and that's to open a more abundant life for all. How well conceived and executed these policies were always will be a matter of debate, but here's a quick sampling. In 1964, the country passed the Civil Rights Act. Among other things, it made segregation in public facilities illegal. Can you imagine? Less than 60 years ago, in my lifetime, people could be denied service at a restaurant or access to a hotel room simply because of the color of their skin. Then the Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965. And with that came the possibility for African American citizens in the South to begin to register to vote in significant numbers, although for a long time that remained a struggle. They probably didn't realize the danger, but a group of Southwestern students went to the South over the spring break in 1966 to work on the voter registration drive. The mid-1960s also saw the embryonic stirrings of an environmental movement, and one important contributor to that was the publication of Rachel Carson's book, Silent Spring, which talked about the effects of indiscriminate pesticide use. So, in the midst of all of this external turmoil and war, what was it like here? We weren't immune from what was happening. We weren't unaware of it. We were probably cushioned a little. Student responses, I think, were tempered in part by our typically polite Midwestern upbringing, and also by a strong influence of what I'll describe as moderating Methodism. The college itself found ways to facilitate constructive engagement on many of these current issues and did so through a strong push for the humanities, along with sponsorship of some politically relevant educational activities. There's one quick example. I recall a college-wide humanities program in which everyone, or at least theoretically everybody, read the same book, a new book, every 3 or 4 weeks, and then participated in small discussion groups. For the most part, these books were provocative thought inducers, books that challenged our thinking and our values, things like Brave New World in 1984 and James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time. This program, I think, was one that provided an important forum or outlet for serious consideration of some tough issues that we faced both individually and as a country. What else about Southwestern might have eased or redirected potentially virulent campus unrest? Well, there were close and respected relationships between students and faculty. The college maintained rigorous academic standards, whatever the discipline. I remember struggling through a hugely time-consuming introduction to art course that I believe could have passed muster in any graduate program in the country. And then students remained engaged in a plethora of activities that demanded investment of focus and energy, from the arts to religion to sports. The upshot was, we didn't riot. I don't think many on campus did a lot of drugs, although I can remember making the occasional foray to the Green Door in Arc City for the forbidden beer or margarita. Unlike Winfield, Arc City wasn't exactly dry at that time. But for the most part, we were serious students, encouraged and nurtured by a remarkably dedicated faculty. That said, I don't want to suggest that we lived in some sort of cocooned, isolated existence here. Our attitudes about public service, about government, about religion, about personal relationships and societal obligations were influenced by Southwestern, strongly influenced by Southwestern, but they were also affected by what was happening in the country writ large. Through that experience of the mid-60s, I think Southwestern students developed an outward-looking ethic of service to others, and it's an ethic that I think persists today. So let me conclude with this. Unlike other Hall of Fame inductees, I can't point to any signal achievements. My own service has primarily been in the political or governmental realm. There, my abiding hope, although I have to say it's an often frustrated hope, has been to advance in some small way these notions. First, in spite of our differences, there is a universality of being that binds us together, whether as Kansans, Americans, or citizens of the world. Second, we should honor diversity while still recognizing that we have common goals and aspirations and, yes, common failings. Third, whether we come from privilege or poverty or somewhere in between, we should have the opportunity to achieve that abundant life referenced in the Gospel of John. And finally, discrimination against any child of God based on given qualities and characteristics is fundamentally wrong. I'm not a religious scholar, but I believe firmly that such discrimination is antithetical to Christ's message and the example of his life, and certainly it denies our common humanity. Well, that's what I learned from Southwestern, and it's a message that I hope finds greater resonance in years ahead. Again, thank you so much for the honor you've extended.
Thank you, Brian. Our second inductee tonight is Stephanie Sharp, class of '98. Stephanie earned a master's degree in international affairs and security policy from the George Washington University. At age 27, she was elected to represent Lenexa and Shawnee in the Kansas House of Representatives for 3 terms. Here she launched the Sharp Record e-newsletter to inform Kansans on activity at the State House in a cost and time-efficient way. Sharp left the legislature in 2008 to further her career and start a family. In 2009, she was elected to the 1st of 2 terms on the Johnson County Community College Board of Trustees, which she served from 2009 to 2018. She founded Sharp Connections to continue the work of the Sharp Record. The Vote Sharp Constituent Communications app and canvote.com site are projects intended to deepen candidates' relationships with voters and increase voter awareness and turnout. Congratulations, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for this honor. It's awesome to be back on campus. I, like Mike, feel a little intimidated by being here, and I'm grateful for such an honor. I wonder that not sure that I deserve, but am grateful nonetheless. And to Southwestern for being foundational in my personal faith as well as my professional success. Leadership through service in a world without boundaries was the Southwestern tagline in the 90s, but it was not only that, it was something that I took to heart. Not that I was ever very good, as my mother will testify, about staying inside a comfort zone, but unbeknownst to me, my Methodist upbringing had prepared me to flourish here. I credit my mom for the Methodist part and a little bit of grit. And to Leela Martin for encouraging, where did Carl go? Oh, he had to leave. To Leela Martin for, I would say, encouraging me to look at Southwestern, because I think that we would have had problems if I would have gone anywhere else. Cheryl Rude molded that training through Max Dupree, Robert Greenleaf, and Herman Hess, providing tools that remain on the tip of my tongue as I work with every incumbent and candidate that I help in Kansas to help transform Kansas politics by recruiting and training public servants instead of politicians. Larry Wilgers made me read Noam Chomsky. You remember that. And sharpened my Methodist penchant for social justice. He also cried with me when I warned that my dad would be dying soon and I might not be at class one day. Phil Schmidt, rest his gentle soul, challenged my isolationist worldview and made me read Henry Kissinger, which spurred me toward a fateful interview with Sandy Feinstein. Many of you in this room have been on the receiving end of one of those interviews, and you know what a Sandy challenge is like. Sandy proceeded to bleed red ink all over my essays. That led me to an affinity for high-quality red pens and an obsession with editing, especially restaurant menus, as my husband humors me. And also a study abroad in Northern Africa, for which my mother likely still has nightmares. What does a travel addict with no student loan debt, thanks to the generosity of Southwestern's endowment, do after college graduation? Well, she picks a top 5 international affairs graduate program because a degree like that, somebody will pay me to travel around the world. And you know, over the optimism and naivete of a 22-year-old, that doesn't actually happen, turns out. 2 years later, with a couple of years on Capitol Hill and a big degree and bigger student loan debt, I decided I could build a career anywhere, but I really wanted to make a life in Kansas. And shockingly, I'm sure you'll be surprised by this, there weren't a lot of international affairs jobs for a 24-year-old. And politics was my backup expertise that became the perfect conduit to continue my passion for servant leadership. I've spent the last 20 years battling political extremism by being what I call militantly moderate, which I loved. It was a perfect segue. Militantly moderate. I'm the pushy pragmatist and the soulful centrist. Without my clients who won in 2016, this is a good example, we would still be living under the Brownback tax experiment. Without my clients, our schools would still be woefully underfunded. and forcing a constitutional crisis, which many in Topeka continue to seek. Conversely, 2018 was a bit of a difficult year for public servants. Too many Kansans, quite frankly, said no to every Republican because the president is a bad one. Yes, we have a Democrat governor who is a friend. She is fantastic. But by using the all Republicans are bad mantra and brushing every Republican with that brush, Democrats eliminated her governing coalition in the legislature. They ended up with the exact same number of seats by beating moderate Republicans, but failing to protect their own, like Ed Trimmer right here in Winfield. And these people were replaced by extremists. Numerically a net zero, but a net loss for good governance and for Kansas. If we only have the attention span as voters for the soundbite, we get soundbite politicians. Public service and servant leadership is nuance. It's not black and white. There's a whole lot of gray, which makes me think of INN Wallace Gray, hat tip. And gray takes 2 minutes instead of 2 seconds. What is democracy worth to have that conversation? I hope as we head into the 2020 cycle with 165 state legislative seats up for grabs on Kansas ballots, that we can all not only be mound builders, but also bridge builders and truly lead through service in a world without boundaries. So I'm grateful again for the honor and to meet all of you here tonight, and thank you, Go Builders.
Thank you, Stephanie. Our third and final inductee tonight, J. and Michael Medina, class of 1972. Michael Medina has practiced law for nearly 3 decades after earning his Juris Doctor with special distinction from the University of Oklahoma. While his practice includes general business matters and oil and gas transactions, he is an appellate lawyer at heart, and he is regularly involved in appeals at every level. Medina joined Frederick Dorwart Lawyers in 1994, and for 19 years prior to that, he was with Holloman, Langholtz, Runnels, and Dorwart. And during those 19 years, Medina also served as a judge on 2 occasions. He has published articles spanning topics including insurance law, the Oklahoma appellate process, presidential qualifications in the U.S. Constitution, and take-or-pay clauses in natural gas contracts. He is a charter member of the American Academy of Appellate Lawyers. Congratulations, Michael.
Tough acts to follow, so I'll be short. Mike, I bet you when you looked at the jink when you were up at the 77 stairs, he didn't tell you you were going to have to go up those stairs doing freshman initiation when all the sophomores, juniors, and seniors were going to throw balloons, hot water balloons at you and everything. They didn't tell you that, did they?
I don't think they did that when I was there.
They did that when I was. Did they do that when you were there?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember going down that.
I think there were paddles.
There were paddles involved. The fraternities had paddles. Well, thank you for this really high honor. It's hard to believe that 46 years ago, someone from Salina, Kansas, walked into his first class, Western Civilization, at Messenger Hall. Yeah, you remember Messenger Hall, the leaky. Went down, sat in his seat, and promptly fell asleep. And later on, Phil Schmidt remembered that. He told me he remembered that. And I slept most of that semester, and here I am now. But I'd like to recognize two teachers that were very important to me. One was the late, great Phil Schmidt. And he taught me the importance of grammar. Those of you who had Phil knew that he not only graded you on content, he graded you on the use of the English language. And that was a lesson that I kept my whole life. Because if you read something that's not grammatical, you think the guy's an idiot. If you diminish his, and when you're talking, when your job is writing briefs, if you don't write good briefs, the judges who read them are going to say, "What an idiot! What's he saying? What's he saying this for?" So Phil did this. Larry Wilgers, talk about constructive engagement. Larry was as far left as you can imagine. He's probably a little bit with Bernie Sanders right now. And I was as far right as you can imagine. I'm one of those extremists. I'm a member of the Federalist Society, and I'm a very strong President Trump backer. But Larry changed my life in a very meaningful way. The spring of my junior year, we were sitting down in his basement office back in Christie, and he asked me point blank, what are you going to do with your life? And frankly, I was on autopilot. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it. I figured, well, bachelor's degree in history, master's degree in history, PhD in history, get a nice job, and didn't think about who's going to pay for all that and all that. And Larry told me that history was not a growing profession at that time. It was basically a seller's market. And he told me, yeah, you could go to law school, you could go to Wisconsin, you could go to master's, go to Wisconsin, which at that time was the best history school in the country. And if you're lucky, you could get a junior college job when you get out. And somehow, if you work a PhD out of it, you might get a college job out of it. That didn't seem very hopeful to me, since I hadn't been thinking. But then he mentioned law school. Go to law school. But he told me law school is what a bachelor's degree after World War II was. You don't have to be a lawyer after you go to law school. You can go into business, you could teach college, business law, you could teach law school, you could go to politics. You don't have to make a decision about your future. You could delay it for 3 years. And so that's what I did. I went to OU Law School, so I'm a Boomer Sooner, big Sooner fan, we're going to win the Heisman this year again. And I didn't have a long speech, but I want to read some words from one of my favorite songs, Bryan Adams, The Summer of '69. And I've changed some of the words, but this is how it goes. Oh, when I look back now, those college days seem to last forever. And if I had the choice, I'd always want to be there. Those were some of the best days of my life. And the wonderful thing is I knew it then. There were going to be there's so many college students that just want to get out of college, zip out, and they don't stop to think. This is the last time you can really enjoy yourself before you have to wonder, how am I going to make a living? And it's not as much fun as being in college. And I knew it then. I had a great time at Southwestern, met a lot of people, and the thing I respect the most is that people respected themselves and respected others. You could talk to people, you could argue with people without screaming and yelling, you could disagree without being unpleasant, and you could remain friends. Larry and I we're totally opposite, absolutely opposite on just about any issue you want to. And yet we were able to talk calmly, something maybe not so calmly sometimes, but most of the time with respect. And that's what Southwestern did. And I think we're losing that on a lot of campuses today. Free speech seems to be not as important as political correctness or hurting people's feelings. But, for example, when I started teaching law school, my professional example was Professor Kingsfield of Paper Chase. The first semester, the beginning of the movie begins when this student from Minnesota comes to law school. Professor Kingsfield is a towering figure of contract law. He's the god of contract law. And he didn't know that the assignments were posted. So he walked into class thinking it was going to be an introductory class. Well, not. Kingsfield picked him out and says, Mr. Smith, stand up. And asked him a series of very direct questions that made the guy sick. He ran out. And that was my model. I wanted to be someone, not to get someone sick, but I believed you have to have a thick skin to be a lawyer. You gotta have a thick skin to be a lawyer. You can't have your feelings hurt when someone says something bad about you in a brief like this. Like this attorney obviously didn't read the Constitution because he's blah blah. If you take that seriously, you just can't practice law. It's going to eat at you. And Southwestern gave me the ability to argue without being disagreeable, and I think that was a great gift that we all can use today. So once again, I want to thank you very much. Like I say, 46 years ago, I would never have bet that I'd be here today. I don't know where I'd be, but it certainly wasn't going to be here in a podium. So thank you once again. I sure appreciate it. Good day.
So good to hear all those memories and the advice, and it's fun to think about who else is going to be up here, who might be up here from these students we saw tonight. So on behalf of the faculty and administration, first to our Pi Gamma Mu students, thank you for your thoughtful engagement in your studies. Thank you for the risks you take to put concepts and practice into practice outside the classroom. And thank you for representing our college so well and for the work that you've yet to do. And on behalf of the faculty and administration, to our Hall of Fame inductees, thank you. Thank you for your contributions in service to our world. Thank you for your example that you have set. Thank you for being builders. Thank you for your heartfelt connection to and continued support of Southwestern College.